The people that come to me are people that have a puzzle that needs to be solved, that is made really complicated because of the fact that they're international. So often, if kids are involved, one parent may want to take the child back to the home country. The other parent may be very scared that the child is going to be taken away and never come back. So that situation is typical and really hard to resolve. So lots of times, the problem is that the foreign parent doesn't understand the rights that he or she may have under American law or under the law of the state in which they're living. So there's a big knowledge gap that sometimes we can solve by explaining to somebody just what their rights are. People from overseas often don't expect that they'll be treated well by the courts in this country. And in fact, the courts in this country will often go overboard to make sure that the people from overseas are given full and fair and treatment. But there's lots of ways that we can provide protection to families here that people just don't know about.
But this abduction that's taking place is conducted. It's done by one of the parents, correct? Yep. They took the child, and the place where they took the child is India. What are the chances? What are the tools that the other parent, the left behind parent, has to recuperate the child?
The left behind parent is in a big trouble, and if the taking parent, let's say it's the mother, she takes the child to India. If she keeps the child in India, she can usually get away with it. But there's a family tragedy that results from this. So what she just did is usually a felony under American law. It's criminal. If I'm representing the father here who's been left behind, who's desperate to see his kids who are in India, we can get an American court order, but the Indian courts are likely to ignore that order or not to pay it any significant respect.
Why? Why would they ignore it?
Firstly, India has not signed the big international treaty. So there's an international treaty called the Hague Convention, which says that abducted children should be returned to the country where they're living. India has chosen not to sign that convention, even though about 100 other countries have signed it already. It's a very effective treaty.
What would happen if the child would be taken by the parent to Germany or to France in comparison to, let's say, the child being taken to India?
So if the child is taken to a country in Western Europe, then normally the child will be returned within a few months. The target in the treaty, the Hague Convention, is a return within 6 weeks. In the real world, courts don't act as fast as quickly as that. So it may take a few months. But if the child is taken to India, it'll take forever. It'll take never. I mean, the child will not come back. If the parent who takes the child is remaining in India, we can threaten all kinds of things. We can get a warrant for the arrest of the taking parent. We can get a court order giving custody from the American court to the left behind parent. We can go to Interpol. We can threaten one thing or another. But if the child is kept in India, that child is invariably kept there. So the court system in India is not going to provide any significant help to the left behind parent.
So basically the child will grow up without any further contact to his parent, the one left behind in the United States, either the mother or the father. Is it more the mother who abducts the children to India? Typically so. The mother?
Doesn't have to be. It can be, I've had many situations where Indian dads have taken the kids back to India.
When you look at the situation, the whole case, do you understand or can you get in the mind of the abductor? Let's say it's the mother. What motivates her to do what she did? What is her fear? Why is she doing this?
You have to understand, a lot of these cases are arranged marriages, and in many cases, the Indian mother came here for the marriage. She came here to get married and live happily ever after, and then the marriage turned out to be less than what she expected. So sometimes there's abuse. Often abuse is alleged. Sometimes that the allegations are true. If the marriage doesn't work out, she expects that she has the right to go home. She came here to get married. She came here for this relationship. She had children with this man. And now the man has not met her needs and may be nasty, maybe horrible, maybe has cut her off financially. She may be scared, and she believes that it is her right to go home and to take the children with her. And she has no real expectation that if she seeks help from the American legal system that she's going to get it. She considers herself a foreigner.
how would that help look like? Let's say that somebody would advise her. Somehow she would find information available to her. But what would that help look like? If she would stay in the United States and seek a separation or divorce from her husband, what would she gain from that?
She can get an immediate order of protection to order that the father shall stay away from her. She can often get the father removed from the family residence so she can stay there safely. She can get a court order requiring him to make immediate payments for support, for child support, for spousal support. She can require, in a case of divorce against her husband here, that he make full disclosure of all of his financial assets. This is serious. If people lie about making those financial statements, then they can be in trouble here. She's entitled to her share, which is usually 1/2 of the money that was built up by the family during the marriage. So these are very extensive. She can get a custody order that will divide the time between her and the other parent to keep the kids safe, to keep her safe, to nonetheless allow the children to see the other parent. Often she'll be the one that's allowed to make decisions about what should be done with the kids, but she's not allowed to take the kids to live overseas without father's consent or without a court order letting her do so.
But let's say that she is not an Indian citizen. Let's say she's German or she's French, and she gets a divorce here from her husband. She gets half of the marital assets, so all the money that they collected during the marriage, and she gets full custody, let's say, of the child, or even joint custody. But what if she really wants to return to her home country? Can she never do that now
Yes,
that
she
she
can.
has the child?
Yeah, she can apply to the court for permission. So, I do a lot of international relocation cases. What parents often don't fully respect, though, is who's important here? Is it the mom? Is it the dad? No, it's the kid, it's the child. So the courts in this country will focus on what is in the best interest of the child. So if I'm representing a mother from the Netherlands who wants to take the children to live in the Netherlands, we have to come up with a plan. We have to come up with a plan that will respect let's say, the father's role in the life of the children. We have to show the court that it would be better for the kids if they're taken away from their father to live in another country. So we have to show that the other parent will still be able to see plenty of the kids. We put in a schedule for the kids to be, for let's say, for dad to go to the Netherlands to see the kids frequently, for the kids to come here for a big chunk of the summer holidays, for him to speak to the kids by webcam with a video 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week. And we show why it is better for mom to be living in the Netherlands. Perhaps financially things are not so good here. Perhaps she's lonely here. Perhaps her family is all over there. And so she's not being able to be as good a mother as she would be if she were with her family back in the Netherlands.
I know that you're often invited to give expert testimony in various international family law cases.
Yes.
Can you give some example of how that testimony would look like? What is it that they need your experience on?
So I often testify throughout the United States and also in Australia and Canada, usually about whether a child should be allowed to visit a foreign country when the other parent is concerned that the child may not come back. So, in my opinion, it's really great for kids to be able to go to the country of origin of one of their parents. It's important. On the other hand, if they're going to go there and not come back, then that's very dangerous, very unfair to the child, and can produce really awful consequences. Judges don't know about the legal systems in foreign countries. How can a judge in the United States know about how things would work out if a child were taken to and kept in India or Colombia or England? And so a lot of my testimony is about, based upon my knowledge of 20 years of working with these situations around the world, is to inform the judge in this country of what might happen if the children were kept in a country such as the one that I've listed. So it's providing the information that the judge needs to know to make a decision.